First of all, thank you to Vicky and Nirankar for having us here. Great show. Congratulations. And I'm really honored to be sharing the panel with my co-panelists. Each one of them has got umpteen times more than what I could even imagine for myself. So I am really humbled to be sharing this session with you. You know, I have an easy job. I just need to keep making sure that people talk and they mentor us. That's all that I need to do. So, Swati, thank you. That sort of solves some part of my problem. And the other part is the startup ecosystem, which is easier because I am very passionate about it myself. So, you know, it's a little easier to sort of weave in and out as the conversation happens with the panelists. So what I'm going to do is really not talk too much, except say that there are two things I want to say. One is my own life experience has actually been driven nothing but by a mentor. I think I've been one of those, I hope not few, but at least one of those lucky people who've had an opportunity to grow in life, both in the corporate sector in a vertical way, as well as sort of expand my horizons in other parts of the ecosystem, and had the opportunity of really doing some of the most path-breaking things that I've done. And I attribute that to only one person in my life, and that is really, today when we speak about a mentor, I cannot but help take his name is Saurabh Srivastav. I think he's really been instrumental in really mentoring and really working hard to mentor me, and it's hard because I'm not an easy mentee, I know that. So, so that's one part. The other part is really, you know, the organization that I co-founded and sort of represent here is the Indian Angel Network. And we typically invest in young startup companies, and today we find, and you know, each one of you reads Ecotimes, he reads Times of India, it's all over TV, media. I think startups have become the flavor of the day in some ways, right? And the Prime Minister Modi has also done his little bit by talking about Startup India. But that is great. But what we find, which is very, very instrumental in the startup ecosystem, is not just money. Today, money is increasingly becoming commoditized for the startups. This has become an asset class, you know, what we call angel investing or early stage investing. It has become commoditized. What makes a difference to a great extent, and I'm not taking away or discounting what promoters or entrepreneurs themselves do, but it is money with the mentoring that makes the difference. How can you do things better? How do you take things to the next level? How do you, you know, start innovating for the next phase of your company while you're doing well? And I think that is something which resonates with me, to say you have to continuously push the envelope and continuously push the borders in some ways. And that, to my mind, is the job of a mentor. And that is the coach that we look for in life, and we have been looking for in life every phase of our life. So to me, mentors are really people who can shape you, who can sort of polish you, and who can then also help you launch. And we just don't realize the value till much later in life. So on that note, I would shut up now, because we have other mentors right here, and actually request, I'm just going by the order how we are sitting in the sequence, and really invite Yogesh.
Would you like to start from the other side?
No, I want to now start from you.
Audience has been hearing us for a long time.
Okay.
No, start with Yogesh. Come on, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I was having a discussion with a friend who runs a management school in Jodhpur, and we started talking about what makes a good mentor? If you were to pick up one attribute of a mentor, what would that attribute be? And after discussing for almost an hour various permutation combinations, we finally agreed and zeroed on one. The mentor has to believe in Pygmalion effect.
You're going to have to explain that.
Okay. Have you heard of Pygmalion effect? No?
Yes.
Okay. The Pygmalion effect is, it is a beautiful story and a movie also, that two professors, they make a bet that this flower girl who is selling flowers on the roadside, whether she will remain a flower girl for the rest of her life, or there's a possibility of this flower girl becoming an extremely fine lady as good as a royalty. One professor says, sorry, it's not possible. She has got whatever experience, learning, studies, whatever she's done, she's not capable of. The other says, no, she's capable of, and we can make her into that. And he actually mentors her, and the flower girl gets now almost transformed, converted into a very fine lady who's introduced into a royal ball and some such thing. So a mentor has to believe in his mentee. That's the first primemost attribute we agreed, that mentee has the potential of making it big. All right. So I think I'll leave my comments here because I want to hear stories from Natalia, from Len, and I'll come in between maybe at some point of time where my experience becomes more relevant.
Sure.
But I would like to leave this here with the thought that mentors have to be a strong believer in Pygmalion effect.
Okay.
So that's it.
So Len, Yogesh would like you to pick up the bait now.
Yogesh, you've been listening to me all day. You know all my stories now. So, first, it's an interesting panel to sit on because I don't really think of myself as a mentor, really. The people that I've engaged with is in working with entrepreneurs, I try to think of myself as a partner with them. And we're both working on the same thing, and that is to get to market. That's what really matters, getting to market. It's ultimately, the most important thing is getting to market. That's the promised land. You only get there when you succeed in really understanding, as I've been saying for the last 2 days, when you really understand what the customer needs and you develop the ability with your technology solution to solve the problem that he's got or she has. So, and along the way, I've thought of a few people that it has been especially rewarding to work with, and I wanted to tell you about a couple of them. One of them was Dr. Rennie Roy at DRDO. That was a real experience for us to begin to work with DRDO. These are very esteemed scientists. They live in very secluded enclaves. It was quite interesting for me to even get to talk to them because there was so much protocol around, being able to discuss things with them, and it was certainly an opening for them that was awkward to begin with. They weren't comfortable talking to us about highly secret technologies and stuff, even if they had been declassified, which we would only work on declassified technologies. But Dr. Roy was one who really jumped the shark on this. She saw the potential to do something new and different and to share the value that had been developed. And she was the co-developer of a technology called the Explosive Detection Kit. And essentially a solution that you could put on a suspected explosive substance, and it would give you an indicator, kind of like a litmus indicator. Very useful to troops and investigators in the field. So we saw the potential. She was excited about the potential, and so she embraced this whole process of getting a technology to market. And even to the point where, I mean, she was such a cheerleader for that. She was willing to work with the receiving entrepreneur in the United States that we had identified that was going to actually take it to market, and created a very strong bond with this person and was able to work with her, and ultimately we were successful in being able to commercialize this technology. It took some time. It was breaking new ground as we were going, but the thing that really stands out was the attitude and just the positive nature of Dr. Roy working with us, and I think she was a pioneer. So I just wanted to mention her. I never felt like her mentor. I felt like her partner, and I wish her well. And so there was that one. And there were so many other people that we've worked with across the board here in India. And as you know, I'm a big fan of Indian innovation. I think that you guys are in early days. I've said that several times in the last couple of days. It's early days here. I don't mean that you're lagging. I mean that the opportunities are all in front of you. And there's great opportunities. You have the ability to learn from other people's mistakes, and I think that you will take advantage of that and be better than if you had just followed in their footsteps. That's one of the things that I would like to be a part of seeing going forward, is for you guys to be better and to be able to take the shortcuts that are lying before you if you can just learn the lessons that are there for you. Do's and don'ts. Just real quickly to conclude, do be focused on the customer. Do be focused on putting together a business. A startup is a business, and it's really important that you think about it that way. Most startups are real top-heavy technology. They have no business in them. We've got to figure out ways and systems and methodologies so that we can balance that a little bit. The sooner you do that, the better you're going to be, I think. Don't focus just on the technology. And I guess I would say, don't worry so much about the funding. That's a big deal. I think everybody worries about funding. Don't worry so much about the funding. Make sure you get the customer solution right, because at the end of the day, investors are not buying technology. They're not investing in your technology. They're investing in solutions. They're investing in opportunities. Money is attracted to opportunity. So build that opportunity that actually is solved with a technical solution, but be focused on the end point, not just the technology, but on the whole picture. Make sure you never lose focus of the path to market. And if you don't understand that, that's where to start. Go figure out what that means. It's not enough to just be a great technologist. There's one of the most profound statistics that I've seen has to do with the U.S. Patent Office. The U.S. Patent Office has hundreds and thousands of technologies. And the director of the U.S. Patent Office said about 4 or 5 years ago, he said that 99% of the patents sitting in the U.S. Patent Office never made enough money to cover their filing fees. Thank you.
Thank you, actually, Len. Very, very incisive. And I would just want to add, before I pass on the patent to Dr. Mahajan,
No.
is...
She's on the other side.
Okay. So what I was wanting to add really is, it's so true. I think investors invest in the business, not in the technology. It's so true. And I think one of the things I'd like to add to it is mentors actually look at mentees not only as mentees. They look at whether there is a chemistry between them and they can work together to create something which is really phenomenal. And mentors don't just sit there trying to mentor or give gyan or give knowledge. I think the mentoring process is as much a learning for the mentor as much as it's for the mentee. Sometimes mentors learn much more, because they are people who we say have been there, been there, done that. But how do they engage with innovation and the young minds and the creativity and the innovation that is breeding? And this is one great way of doing it. And then partnering with those mentees, entrepreneurs, to really create large scale or global footprint companies. So it's not a one-way. Traffic. It is a partnership, and both gain immensely. On that note, Natalia, can I request you to share your thoughts?
Sure, thanks a lot. Very glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm also very happy to speak after Len because I think it's a little bit more of elaboration on a few points that he made. And the experience I wanted to share with you is mostly experiences that are coming from my work at the World Bank in the last 15 years. And I've worked largely on innovation policies all across the world. The only region I haven't touched is Eastern Asia. And I will touch upon 3 types of projects I assisted. One on commercialization of state-funded R&D in post-Soviet economies. Second is on attracting and promoting spillovers from high-tech R&D invested from multinationals in countries like Costa Rica and Central America, Eastern Europe, and Northern Africa. And the last one is from here, from India, and supporting grassroots entrepreneurs in becoming kind of R&D labs in the last mile service delivery. And a few lessons for me transpired from all of these experiences where I actually wasn't a mentor. I was more a facilitator of mentorship relationship and mentorship networks, which are kind of soft aspects of enablers of innovation, and they were recognized a couple of decades back, but a lot of questions in development is about how to promote and support those networks and how we can activate them more effectively in creating those very vibrant, innovative networks of entrepreneurs. And so about actually by now, 20 years back in post-Soviet Europe, very much like what Len described, researchers' teams were coming up with 50 years of shelf technologies funded by the Soviet Union at the rate of 8% of R&D investment. 8% of GDP were spent on R&D in Soviet Union. So lots of technologies that they thought were world class, and no one wanted to buy them. And it was interesting to get those research teams together with the Western mentors, and one of the key aspects that came from that collaborations is that no one is buying your technology, because once it's already shelved, that means there is no demand for it. Most of the investors, as Len said, buy the research skill, they buy the potential for discovery. And one of the key conclusions for us in those relationships were also that inventors and researchers are actually often not the best entrepreneurs. And what we focused on is on creating good teams that were combining the research potential and the potential of entrepreneurs of discovering the market needs and putting together those teams that were combining the demand and the technological solutions. And that was a very humbling experience both for us and for the research teams in Soviet Union. And many of them haven't made it through, but there were several success cases also of how more forefront labs and teams became suppliers to industry like Airbus and GE. And some of this mentorship networks took off actually. The second example was from the concrete example I'll give you is from Costa Rica, where we helped to bring Intel into Costa Rica, and the big expectation was that with the R&D power of Intel, there will be numerous spillovers into Costa Rica, and that we will see the supply chain grow and the Costa Rican companies go up the skills, and there will be this opportunity for in-country bred entrepreneurship to promote the high-tech entrepreneurial environment in the country. And we waited about 10 years and it hasn't happened. So the Costa Rican government asked us to inquire into why. And one of the reasons was that, and actually what we discovered is that Intel had many suppliers in Costa Rica, and the highest value added from this supplier was to bring coffee to Intel labs. So basically that was about it. Everything else was imported. So the company stayed largely disconnected from the local economic tissue. So we worked with the Intel teams, and we started discussing with the employees of Intel. There were about 6,000 of them. A lot of them were highly qualified experts, And we were asking actually how they could mentor local entrepreneurs to move up the value chain and become qualified suppliers to Intel, including in R&D. And one of the things they said is that we won't train outside entrepreneurs. We will become mentors to our internal staff. That's the mission of the organizations. Sometimes, yes, over coffee we'll provide topical advice, but we need to be invested in the relationship, and we'll need to see the future of these people. So the program we devised actually consisted of partnership with local universities, where Intel subsidized and sponsored the master and the PhD programs, and they committed to taking on board the students during their studies and for limited internships after the studies. But the Intel committed to only employ students after graduations for a maximum of 2 years. So for these 2 years, they were mentored in the Intel, and then they were going out. And actually, after a few years, we've seen a big increase in creation of innovative companies in ICT in Costa Rica, and many of them very, very qualified supplier to high-tech digitalized imaging, and they started getting contracts with the Silicon Valley and the Hollywood. And so it was an interesting finding for us that really you need to sometimes provide the good incentive for the mentors to self-identify and engage with students, and it happens in the workplace in most cases. And the last example is from here, from India, and it was the biggest discovery for me, actually, after all this high-tech experience working in middle income economies, and most of my background was on really high-tech R&D side. My manager asked me to come in and start working on social enterprise innovations in India. And I was not combining the two. I thought social enterprise innovations, how it could be possible, and was converted from my very first visit to India. And it's amazing to see vibrant community of social enterprise innovators. Really, it's not big eye innovations, it's not super high tech, but it's like mini R&D labs in development, and it's fantastic to see the potential for impact and scale. And it's important for us also to understand how we can learn from them. And that, I think, from the mentorship experience, similar to what Len mentioned, I think it's a mutual learning opportunity, and that's how in most cases partners see it. It's a mutual learning opportunities, and it's important also for the entrepreneurs when they form their companies to understand and try to create the stake for the mentors to come in and have a stake in their company. And this could be a formalized engagement as part of the shareholders in the company, or some part of co-creation, co-invention with foreign companies, like we've seen. We've recently promoted for our pool of development marketplace grantees. It's a competitive grant program for social enterprises that we run in India for 5 years. We did a lot of twinning arrangements with companies from, for example, Finland, sometimes from the US, and those twinning arrangements were mutually beneficial. We don't see them as mentorship arrangements. They're really transfers of knowledge, of tacit knowledge between companies. So my 2 cents on the matter is really that I think we need to create and promote environments for mentorship. It's very difficult to dictate mentorship, but once you create the enabling environment for people to collaborate and work together, the mentor and mentee will find each other, and they might not put the label on the relationship, but the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of expertise will happen nevertheless. Thank you.
Which is very interesting. Dr. Mahajan.
Thank you. Again, it's nice to be the last panelist. Ladies and gentlemen, my experience basically is with the startups, and they're also in Austin, Texas. So the comments that I'm going to make, in fact, 3 comments, would be based on the startups in Austin, Texas. So I will start with the story. This was back in 1990s. When I had become an endowed chair professor, so I thought I was on the top of the world. Some of the other people also thought I was on the top of the world. So there was a time that I was I was mentoring 17 different companies. So if you had come to my home every Saturday and Sunday, there'll be people from 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock with their business plans. Out of the 17 companies, 16 failed. 16 failed. One survived, not because of me. One private equity company from California decided to invest in them, and they moved them to India. I said, wait a minute, I'm not a mentor anymore? He says, no sir, you are not a mentor anymore. Because the private equity company, and they're doing very well in India, I won't mention their name, extremely well. So imagine the ego that I had, publisher of 10 books at that time, consulting with almost all the major companies in Texas, outside Texas, especially with the pharma companies, consulting with the companies in Mexico and Latin America. And I came home, I said, my God, there's something wrong with me. I said, I had never seen failures until that time. Yes, I had seen failure one time when I could not get a job when I graduated from IIT Kanpur in India. That's the only reason I went to the United States. So that failure I had seen. I said, how can I be that bad? There's 16 companies or the 17, and my kids were very excited because every weekend they would tell their friends, oh, my dad is busy because everybody is giving him stock options. Our college programs is all set. And they were disappointed with their father because the father could not cash those stock options. So I kept on thinking, what went wrong? Ladies and gentlemen, do not become a mentor for the wrong reasons. Do not become a mentor for the wrong reasons. That's what I did. Number one, ego. Given the respect that I was getting from the community and from the university, I thought I could mentor everybody. No, I couldn't. Sometimes there were things beyond me that I could not control. The guy didn't know how to make a presentation, could not make a sales pitch. The product was too late, which was nothing under my control. But I became a mentor because my ego came into play. Yes, I can mentor this guy. So that's the first reason. Second, the reason that the takeaway that I got from my experience, that just because you're an Indian doesn't mean you have to mentor all the Indians. Trust me. So every time there was a company, and Thai organization, I'm sure Padma, she knows that. It's a very vibrant organization. We also had a very vibrant chapter in Austin, Texas. So first thing that will happen there is you are an Indian, so you have to go to an Indian. You are an Indian mentor, so it's your duty to mentor an Indian entrepreneurs. No, just because you're an Indian doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be next, whatever the billionaires that we have in Silicon Valley. The ethnic mentoring was wrong, and it works both ways. Some of these companies were started by the Indians, and so they have to have an Indian, especially a university professor. That helps a lot. And some of the companies were started by the white Americans, and they wanted an Indian because they were told it's good for you to have an Indian, because they're very smart people. And here is a smart professor at the university. Go get him, and he's a marketing expert. He'll tell you always focus on your customers, always focus on your segments, always focus on the channels. I mean, he's going to give you the typical message that the marketing professor will do. Don't lose your focus on the. So gave the same pitch because the Indians are good at that. Just knew a little bit of the technology. Was a bad decision because this guy had the very big issues with the financing. It was family-funded companies and so forth. So ethnic consulting, ethnic mentoring doesn't work. So the takeaway that I will give you there is the best mentor is the one who don't need you. They're so damn smart. They're so damn smart that they already know what to do, but they need you because there is an insecure moment. They say, what do you think? And what do you think my answer would be? You're absolutely right. But have you thought of the following three things? And so the one that have been successful with me are the one who need me the least. However, they make sure my name is on their website. Because somebody's going to check. Who else is there? And I said, sure, why not? But it's very exciting. I would say that it is more exciting than mentoring the 35 PhD students that I have mentored. It's more exciting than a lot of the consulting projects that I've done, because when you look at the passion of that young person of 27 years old, that passion cannot be replaced with any other emotion that I have seen, except when my 2 children were born. So do not become a mentor for the wrong reasons, and not every mentee is your mentee. Thanks so much.
Those are huge takeaways for mentors, I think. Just before I open it up to question answers, just wanted to sort of share something that we see on our investor table every day. We have some very great mentors, people who've been there, done that. And we have some excellent entrepreneurs who come to get mentored. But guess what? We have companies that have failed. And the only thing that we see, and we keep saying, Amitabh, one of our IN investors, is right here. And one of the things we see is mentoring is nice, getting mentored is even nicer. But what really makes the company happen is what I would borrow from Vidya Balan to say, execution, execution, execution. There is just no other way to create a huge company. There is no other way for a startup to grow from a startup to something which is called a unicorn. So mentors with all respect, mentoring with all respect, but at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, don't lose focus on execution. I think that's the biggest learning that I have had. Yogesh, before I open it up to for question answers, would you like to add something? Because you were very, very brief initially.
So, again, coming back from mentoring experiences, the first time an entrepreneur approached me, she was calling from Bangalore, and when she started talking, she said, I have lots and lots of silly questions to ask. And she started with very small little things. This is a problem I'm facing. How do I negotiate with the supplier? This is a problem I'm facing. How do I negotiate with this employee? And what I felt that I could go back to my own days of when I was a young startup. I used to have the same queries. I knew what I'm doing. I knew which customer I'm serving. I'm getting some money from them. But there was these used to be small little questions that I used to have, and I wouldn't know who do I go to. Then we figured out some people around in the industry, outside the industry, to whom we used to go, and then we started learning from them, both as more like at that time more like trainee rather than mentees, on how to handle these small little things. And I find this is a key activity that we as mentors keep doing. We keep listening to, keep hearing to their silly questions and keep responding to them. Today there are many other mentors who come in. One of the issues that I face with is you find a person, you feel that this person is not able to think beyond this. There's a limit that he's not able to cross. How we as a mentors help him cross that? How do we help him shift and look at a different perspective of the same problem? And again, what I find is we learn and we teach this practice to our students in SOIL, and we call it appreciative inquiry. So we lead mentees through appreciation, appreciating what they are doing, hearing their story very patiently, and adding your own life experience to that story and playing it back to him. And suddenly you notice that he started moving from his fixed position, what he's looking at, into a different orbit. So these are some of the methods, techniques I thought I'd share with you that I found it useful. Maybe offer it to you to try it out.
Thank you, actually. So this is a great opportunity actually for people in the audience to ask questions of two mentors on either side of me, not me. So anybody wants to? Remember, it's on either side of me. I can.
Okay. See, we have been talking about mentor, mentees, and a lot of industry participation in helping startup. But if you see on the baseline, there is a huge gap. Most of these startups, they never reach to the right mentors, and right mentors don't reach to the right mentees. So I think my question is to Natalia. From the one perspective, you build knowledge ecosystem in various countries. India is a destination for startups on the Prime Minister call. What is your opinion on creating a matchmaking site of bringing international mentorism and also I think linking with the startup clusters in India? We would, from FICCI side, we would be very happy to partner with you. If the time has come to create a matchmaking and to, like Shadi.com or like Naukri.com, it should be online. People should see who are the mentors available at what time slot. And mentors should also select the startups on the basis of need. What is your thought on that for the World Bank perspective?
So, look, it's a good idea, but like with all ideas, the devil is in details, right? And matchmaking sites, you need interest from both sides. So if you can generate that, yes, it might work, but it's not a silver bullet because, on matchmaking sites, it's not 100% guarantee, so you also won't get 100% match. I think for us, it's really, the question is, what do you want the mentorship for? What do you want to get? And if the mentorship is a solution to transfer of tacit knowledge and expertise and coaching on, kind of on-the-job coaching on softer skills on the entrepreneurship, then it's sometimes very difficult to achieve it through a virtual relationship. And I think the trust created by mentor-mentee relationship is often based on interpersonal communication. So it could happen, but it needs good facilitation and it needs also kind of a boost of confidence. We see virtual relationship work if there is the basic trust, and then the technology is an enabler and the facilitator of the connection, but it might be difficult to ignite trust using exclusively virtual platform. That's my personal view, and I don't pretend that it's 100% proof.
Yeah, Mr.
Mentors
Don't come from just the virtual community and other places. Mentors could come from families, mentors could come from friends, anyone who you can go and talk to about the issue or difficulty that you are facing. Right? So now this takes me to a different level. We need to create an environment where people are open to go and share the difficulty that they are facing with somebody or other. The moment that starts happening, the mentor-mentee relationship begins there. Right? So if we were to say that in Abohar there is a group of entrepreneurs and they are looking for a solution, they are looking for a difficulty, this thing. I'm sure if they look around in their own community, they'll find people who can help them look at their issues. So and if they connect with somebody in US, probably as she's rightly said, that build trust, build a nice relationship, to be able to understand different contexts that they are coming from could be difficult. structured programs could work well in some different settings. Just like Len gave an example of Dr. Roy. So when you identify a specific project, then you identify what is required for that project, and then you can do matchmaking. So,
And a quick follow-up thought. I think India has the fantastic potential, which is the Indian diaspora everywhere. I think there are virtually no companies in the world that don't have an Indian employee. So tapping into that existing network could be incredibly valuable. How is the question? And another thing, if you think about the online matchmaking platforms, connecting to the existing ones might be the easiest way. LinkedIn exists elsewhere, and it's an existing platform. So tapping into that existing platform, but with a particular purpose, might facilitate many things.
you brought an excellent perspective. I started mentoring with the NEN, the National Entrepreneurship Network. They had brought experts, Dr. I'm forgetting his name, from UK to share with us perspectives of mentoring. John Mullins, Professor John Mullins. Professor John Mullins had an excellent collection of case studies of Indian entrepreneurs, right? And he started sharing all that with us. We spent 2 days in his workshop, learned many things. We were expected to use some of these in our own mentoring processes. 1 year later, when we got together and we asked each other that how many of those methods, techniques, processes that we heard in Professor John Mullins' workshop, how many of us have actually utilized it, used it in our own work? I found none. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that we should not be doing it, but what it means is, at this point of time, mentoring and mentee activity around us is extremely unstructured, and it depends from person to person. Each one has his own style of doing it, of working it. It requires a concerted effort to be able to move in that direction. But if you move into that direction, then yes, there are some very good techniques, very good methods, very good approaches all available, which we can apply to many things.
Here also we can apply SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. If the weaknesses in mentee is the strengths of a mentor, then then mentor will choose the mentee, sir. So we can apply the SWOT analysis. If the weaknesses of a mentee are the strengths of mentor, means mentor can choose that mentee.
True. So, just in the interest of time, I'm just going to have one more question. And that's the last one. Yeah, please. Why don't you just speak? We can hear.
Madam, every startup basically has few problems. One is they experience that the friend and mentor are the not right person because they will sabotage everything for them to have the aspiration of business. They come, they're midway and have a problem. When we are seeking the mentor, on the hand, every mentor has vast of experience over the number of years. When he selects a mentee, he's always over enthusiastic. Very, very threatened in the beginning because it takes a confidence building time that years of opportunities which have.
What's your question?
My question is two. One is there is a defect in the startups to grow, where first problem is the selecting of mentors between
Not
friend
that.
and this.
Not that.
Second, mentor has a problem. It takes confidence building time that if he exposes the new person who is a stranger as a mentor, he uses his resources and tarnish his image.
So,
That itself takes time. So there is a need to, for a startup, cannot have a good mentor in the beginning. That's what I'm trying to,
See.
yeah.
Okay.
And second is about finance, 44,000 crore has been spent in India for startups, and the amount of numbers of startups are 66 lakhs. That means 65,000 rupees is being spent on startup concern, which is not sufficient filing fee. So neither they get startup good mentors in the friends and family, then good mentors on the other side and the finance. So it's a very difficult problem or ecosystem for startups to grow. That's what I wanted to make.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely. Anybody else would like to add to it? Okay.
Data point that you have said is okay. I mean, I will not contest that. But the conclusion that you are drawing, that it's 65,000 rupees per entrepreneur and that's not even sufficient to meet the submission fee, is a stretched response or analysis. You see, it's not wrong to go to your friends and families and relatives. It's for a mentor-mentee to form quick relationship is also not at all difficult. It just, again, as is mentioned in the first this thing, what is the attribute of a good mentor? And if that is there in the relationship, it'll be successful, it'll sail smoothly.
Thank you. I'll take this opportunity to really thank all my panelists. It's been very engaging and thank you so much for contributing.